Morning, it's Monday. It's great to see you. The weekend flew by on my side. I don't know how it went for you, but we're back at it. It's Monday morning. Looking forward to a great week. It's unseasonably warm. It almost is kind of hot, which, I don't really mind that too much. I mean, it's okay. I don't like it to be real cold, but, we're never happy with the weather, right? So Rex, it's great to see you this morning. I thought, unless somebody else has something, that we might talk about the 5th chapter of Matthew. Good morning, it's Monday. It's great to see you. The weekend flew by on my side. I don't know how it went for you, but we're back at it. It's Monday morning. Looking forward to a great week. It's unseasonably warm. It almost is kind of hot, which, I don't really mind that too much. I mean, it's okay. I don't like it to be real cold, but, we're never happy with the weather, right? So Rex, it's great to see you this morning. I thought, unless somebody else has something, that we might talk about the 5th chapter of Matthew. And it's pretty interesting because, we have to understand when Jesus came into the world, he came unto his own, if you've read that scripture. And what that means is Jesus came to the Jewish people because he was a Jewish person. And all the blessings promised from Abraham all the way through the line of King David, all the way down to present day Jewish people during Jesus's walk, the Messiah was going to come through the line of David. So that's kind of what's going on. So Rex, good to see you. Biff, great to see you guys. As I was telling Rex, I think what we'll jump into here this morning are our thoughts. And once again, a lot of times we think something and we just move along and we don't realize, thoughts are important to keep those confessed to God, because sometimes we think, it's just a thought, but it can lead to deeper things. So we're going to get into it here in just a second. It's good to see you, Matthew. Good to see you, Myrtle, Maureen, Stephanie. We are in chapter 5, looks like about verse 14 or 15. And Jesus says to them, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." So if I'm going to be a light to you, one thing we've got to make certain is if I'm teaching you something, I better be doing it. That old thing of, do as I say, not as I do, that don't work anymore. It don't even work in families, because you get that a lot in families. The parents say, as long as you live under this roof, you're going to do this. And the kids are like, Dad, you're not doing that. Well, I'm the parent. I'm the boss. Well, how we live in front of our kids, they're going to pick up on that first because they're around us a whole lot when they're young. And if the foundation is not set and then they get older and then they start doing their own thing, it's you better hope your foundation is correct, right? So that's kind of where we're at. Just a little background of where we are here. As I said, Jesus comes to his own people, right? And he's trying to tell them, hey, look, the 10 Commandments, the law, if you recall the law to the Jewish people, it had about 613 different laws in it, right? So it was a lot to follow. And Jesus is basically saying what has happened in the course of your relationship with God up till now is people have made legalism out of this thing. And what they've done is they've killed you with all these rules and regulations, and they've made it to where you can't live up to it all. Okay? And that's kind of where that's sort of the foundation of what we've been looking at here. And he says it's still serious stuff. And then Jesus gives us the verse here in verse 17 where he says, "Think not that I have come to destroy the law or the prophets. I'm not come to destroy, but to fulfill." And that's Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. So he's not come to destroy it. Okay? He's not saying Okay, it's okay to lie, steal, cheat, and kill. It's okay not to have, or it's okay to have other gods before me. It's okay to take God's name in vain. It's okay to dishonor your mother and father. It's okay for adultery. It's okay for all these things, because now you're a saved person and you believe in Jesus and you've got eternal life and you believe in eternal security. So just go forward and enjoy yourself. And every time you do sin, if you feel like it, just let me know. That's not how it works, right? And then he goes even further with the teachers here, that if I'm teaching you something, Pam, Butch, and you see me and I'm not doing what I'm teaching, there's a real problem with that. And it's like Jesus told the scribes and the Pharisees a couple of times. He said, you outwardly look good, but your insides are just, your heart is just as black as coal, right? Because we can pretty ourselves up on the outside. We can run to church on Sunday and hoop and hallelujah and jump and scream and shout and everything. But if I'm out here in the world every day doing the crazy things and I'm not following the things of Jesus, we're going to have a problem, right? But anyway, it's good to see you this morning. Hope you had a good weekend. Okay, so because of the seriousness of the law, Jesus is emphasizing the importance of keeping even the smallest details of the law, okay? But however, in the ultimate plan of God, the law was not to become an extra burden of the souls of men. Rather, it was to point us towards salvation. See, the law said, thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not covet, right? So it's the things that we do, with shining light on, there's going to be a penalty if I do those things, right? Because in the Old Testament, an eye for an eye was a typical law. That means if you killed somebody, they had a right to kill you. And they set up cities of refuge. And we've probably all heard this lesson preached a million times about how if you killed somebody, even if it was an accident, if you could make it, or I think it was only if it was an accident, and maybe it was either way. But here's the gist of the story is you had an opportunity. If you could get to a city of refuge, nobody could harm you in the city of refuge, right? So that's what the cities of refuge were about. And I think they were scattered out across, the country. So here's where we're at. It says, the law convinced men of their need for a savior, which I think I kind of hit that. Therefore, whosoever shall teach men so, but shall not live what he teaches, shall be made the least in the kingdom. But whosoever shall do and teach the principles and the precepts of the law shall be called great in the kingdom of heaven. And this simply means that God will reward the faithfulness and the effectiveness of our lives, and there will be varying degrees of blessings and rewards in the kingdom of heaven. So there is not only a reason to get saved, it gets me out of hell, but there is a reason to accept the commission of God. And the commission is that we're sort of commissioned into the army of God, and the commission is to go and tell people how to get to Jesus. Now, two ways I can destroy my testimony is, number one, I'm loud, obnoxious. Social media has made anybody, you can be loud and obnoxious as you want. You can try to be private with it if you want. You can do, it's all out there, right? And there's one way that you do it, and people are going to look and say, man, that guy's teaching Sunday school of a morning and now he's doing this. Ooh, I'm not going to pay attention to that. So that's going to be a problem, right? The other thing is maybe, I'm teaching you something and it's the wrong way, or it's not right. And so you see me and I'm doing something that's not right. And you're like, ooh, wow, that guy's teaching, whether it's right or wrong. But yet at the same time, man, he's not living it. And that's a big problem in society today, because a lot of these churches, let's be honest. After your basic needs are met, does a preacher need a jet? Does he need a 20-room house, right? Especially since people are starving to death. And I heard a story one time about a preacher that was making a couple $100,000 a year preaching. And every Sunday he was beating on everybody. Man, you got to give. We got to get this thing going. We got missions around the world. We've got all these things we've got to do. And he was just putting the burden on people that really didn't have it to give, but because they wanted this reward and they thought, man, Jesus is really going to bless me. The more I give, the more I give, right? So that can be exploited, and it's been exploited, and the devil loves to exploit that part of the whole program. Because a lot of people, I mean, when I was in business and before I got saved, man, money was the most important thing to me. I was trying to make it, didn't care if I hurt your feelings, didn't care about anything. So, that's what I was trying to do. And now it's like, whatever, and, I'm not saying I'm the most generous person in the world, but I've just got a different view on it, right? So we're trying to set the foundation, because what we're trying to get to this morning, good morning, David. Good morning, everybody. If I missed you, I'm sorry. We're trying to get to the point now that I've never killed anybody, so I can't be held accountable for killing somebody, so I haven't broken that law. Well, maybe you've killed them with your mouth, right? Maybe we've killed them with our words. Maybe we've done something to them that they have no clue that, maybe you were going for a job and you knew the guy hiring everybody to work the job didn't like you, and he knew you were qualified, but he didn't pick you because of you, right? To me, there's a lot of that in small areas like West Virginia, so it's really pretty scary, because, sometimes you never have any idea who's doing what and who's hurting you behind the scenes and everything. But now, as we're getting into this, Jesus is talking about being spiritually righteous, okay? I can fool you. I'm not killing anybody, right? But I'm a gossip. I'm behind the scenes. I'm always mad at the world. I'm mad at everybody. I'm mad at the left. I'm mad at the right. I'm mad at the Democrats. I'm mad at the Republicans. I'm just mad. COVID has destroyed so many people's minds, and it's not funny, but it's like, wow, I just can't believe the tricks that played on people's mind. And so what Jesus is trying to get to us is our thoughts are things too. You get mad at somebody, we always want to jump on, man, Jesus got angry, but he sinned not. That's what the scripture said. Man, he was running through the money changers in the temple, and he was scourging them with the whip, and he was doing all these things, but somehow he didn't sin, okay? So once again, we can be angry and not sin. Used to, people get mad at each other, and after a while, it just went by the wayside. We've all got brothers and sisters. We'd fight with brothers and sisters, and parents would separate us. And a couple minutes later, we'd be back playing in the yard together, right? And there's still a lot of that today. But see, social media and all this other stuff means that I can have a fight with David White no matter where he's at in the world. He says something I don't like on Facebook, I'm just going to jump on there and I'm going to straighten him out, and I'm going to tell him he better straighten up. When it's not my place. And if you notice, we had a lot of comments last week when we got into judgment. And we have so many comments because everybody's got an opinion. The opinion is not always right. And the comment that just kept coming back was, the Christian does have a right to judge people. My ultimate thing is to get people to Jesus Christ. If I am judging a sinner, man, you are really a loser. You are a drug addict. You're a thief. You're a whatever. Do you think that person doesn't know that? Do you think that person is ever going to seek me out and ask me a question about Jesus? Right? And I'll give you another one. Dolly Parton was doing an interview. And for those that know and don't know, Billy Ray Cyrus was a big singer here back when I was in my early 20s, and he hit it big. He got to Hollywood. I think Achy Breaky Heart was the big song he had. And, Dolly Parton kind of took him under her wing, kind of thing, so to speak. So he has a daughter named Miley, who I guess was a TV star. And I guess Miley, just like a lot of stars, and people with money when they're kids, she gets out here and gets a little bit crazy, right? And so Dolly was posed the question, well, Dolly, Miley Cyrus is your goddaughter. Do you ever think about getting on her and lining her up and straightening her out and telling her what she needs to do? And Dolly said, well, you know what? I've decided on that. She said, I think I'll just show her how to act and what to do. See, that's our Christian job. But we've got so many people that are tore all to pieces because their politics are in front of Jesus. See, that's what it is. Them Democrats are sending us all to hell with what they're doing. Them Democrats are promoting this. And then the Democrats, them Republicans are keeping our rights from us. And everybody's fighting and the devil's just laughing his head off. See? Because we're all fighting against each other. And it's none of my business what you do. Now, we have to have law and order. It is very important that you vote tomorrow for several reasons. Number one, there's a lot of candidates that have put their time, their money, and maybe they're right on their platform, maybe they're wrong. Who am I to judge what is right and wrong? Now, I'm not going to get into what I think, and the only reason I'm not is because I don't want half the people mad at me, because we're almost split 50-50. And I believe it's a good split, and I'll tell you why. Because you don't want somebody pulling you too far to the Republican way, and you don't want you pulling you too far to the Democrat way. See, you don't want a one-party system because it'll line you right up with being a monarchy, right? And you don't want one group to be in charge of everything, because it just, number one, it's not the way it was set up in our country. But number two, all the power in one group's hands is a bad thing. That power, that republic, spread the power out. The power's in the people, right? And we have to really be careful in this, and that's why, right? I have Jesus at the top of my page, right? Jesus is my reason for it all, right? But then my politics is down here. I've got family, I've got friends, I've got people, I've got all these things. But my politics is down here, but my politics is saying, look, we've got to have law and order, right? We've got to start enforcing the law again. Now, if a certain political party, right, is out here tearing up people's property, they're breaking the law. That's a no-brainer. See, in the Declaration of Independence, it gets in there and it tells you there are certain laws that are self-evident, okay? So if I get into the Bible and the Bible tells me before I formed you in the womb, I knew you, that gives me my abortion answer. See, pretty scary stuff, right? So there's that. And the tearing up people and the rioting. If you want to have a peaceful protest, I'll go with you. You tell me where to meet, I'll go out and stand with you for a while. Tell me what the cause is, right? But to go out here and say, look, we're going to assemble down here, and we're just going to go down this street and we're going to tear up all these little mom and pop businesses because they can't afford to fight back. That's not the answer. See, that's mob mentality, right? Okay, so I better leave that. Since election day is tomorrow, I'm hoping for a smooth election. I'm hoping for, I think it's 1 Thessalonians or 2nd that has the verse in there, no appearances of evil. And I think this early voting is the biggest scam that's ever been created in the world. For 100 years, it wasn't a problem for people to show up on election day. And this having this early voting has absolutely just opened a can of doubt that just can't be closed. But anyway, once again, that's my thought. So let's think about this for a second, okay? We've got to be righteous to enter into the kingdom of heaven. I can't make myself righteous. Jesus will count righteousness toward me if I'm living and if I've been saved and if I've turned my life over to Jesus and trusted him to forgive my sins, trusted that he could forgive my sins, and now I'm seeking to live the way he wants me to live by working through this Bible. My politics is not going to get me to heaven, right? Being part of the union, being part of the business owners of America, whatever, see. And we've got a lot of things between us and Jesus, and we have to really be careful, right? And once again, somebody made the comment the other day, well, every time you say something like that, you're judging people. I'm not judging what you do because I have no clue what you're doing. What I'm trying to do is tell you what the Bible is telling us to share with you, right? So when we get down here, there's a comparison chart in these King James Study Bibles, and that's why I wanted to give this King James. I always want to give that out because it's got all these great doctrinal notes. And Jesus makes a comparison. He says, let's talk about murder. In the law, it says don't do any murder. But Jesus says, I'm telling you right now, don't get angry with your brother because it can lead to murder. See, our thoughts can lead to things, right? And maybe I'm jumping to the end of the story here, but I always like to think about King David during this period of time. King David looked at Bathsheba, right? He made a plan, and he made the plan happen. And out of looking at something he shouldn't have looked at, being in a place he shouldn't have been looking at, shouldn't have been looking from anyway, because he should have been out leading his troops who were in a war, right? David probably breaks all 10 commandments, okay, by what he does with Bathsheba. First of all, he doesn't put God first, and that's commandment number 1, right? He's looking at an image of a naked woman, right? Which is something that, all of us would have problems with. If you see somebody naked out here, you're probably going to take a look, because number one, of the shocking effect of, hey, there's somebody walking down the street or whatever. But, so Bathsheba was probably a little bit involved in this situation too. So he looked at something he shouldn't have looked at. He should have been someplace else. Then he makes a plan. And all this is coming from something the eye gate takes in. See, we've got gates. We've got an eye gate. We got an ear gate. We got a smell gate. We got a mouth gate. Now, the mouth gate spews stuff out, right? It usually spews out something I've seen, something I've heard, and whatever. But we've got gates. We've got to protect the gates. And that's what Jesus is saying here this morning on this. Jesus is saying, look, your anger. See, in society today, why would we ever have people go in and do these mass shootings? It's anger. It's hostility. Why would kids go in and kill their classmates? Well, there's a lot of bullying that goes on in schools, and schools can tell you they're trying to fight this and they're trying to do this, but it's there. Schools will not put the kids out that need to go out of school today because of a couple of reasons. Number one, it's mandated from the federal to the state to the county. All these rigorous things you got to do before you can even expel somebody today. In our day, the principal came to the room and said, get your stuff and get out of here. You're gone. See, once again, who's mandating all this stuff? People in higher offices that have no idea what's going on in the front lines of these schools today. See? So there's the problem. So kids get angry. You bullied me. You're taking advantage of me. You're making fun of me. And then one day they do something horrendous and everybody's like, well, wonder why he did that. He did that because of years and years and years of abuse. How come we have 400,000 foster kids in our country? Well, some of it is because moms and dads won't spend time with their kids, right? All they want to do is play the video games and whatever. We're all guilty of that phone dominating our life. Because, whether it's maybe you love the news, maybe it's nothing bad. Maybe you love a TikTok video, maybe you love Facebook. Man, we're just, and I'm as guilty as anybody could ever be on that, of spending too much time. Now, my justification is, well, it's all business, and I'm sharing all these different things, that we're trying to accomplish. But at the end of the day, we've got 400,000 foster kids, meaning 400,000 kids that we've identified are struggling. Maybe mom and dad are using drugs. Maybe mom and dad aren't paying attention. Maybe mom and dad are sexually, abusing the children. Maybe because there's such a high rate of divorce, the stepdads and the stepmoms are abusing the kids in a certain way. See? So once again, anger, and then anger spills over to murder. And I think we can get that in society today. We see a whole lot of what's going on there, and that is another problem. So the next thing is the lust that is going on today. How come we're lusting after things? Well, anytime you go through any of the social media sites, you're pretty much going to see people half naked on there, right? And I guess they get paid if they get so many people to watch their video. So in order to get me to watch, guess what? You got to do something pretty crazy. So you might see like these little daredevils out here jumping off the side of a building. Or, the one I see all the time is the dude that gets dropped from a helicopter on top of a snow-covered mountain, and he skis on a board down this mountain. And I'm like, man, how is that possible? Right? Or somebody rides their bicycle along a mountain ledge that's 6 inches wide. And I'm like, why would you be doing something that crazy? Well, we live in a day and time where we're going to pay you if you can get enough people to watch you do crazy stuff. Once again, does that sound like things of God or things of the devil? See, and we're all faced with that kind of stuff. So the lust of the situation is this. I'm lusting. David saw Bathsheba. He saw her. Then he made a plan. And then that's how the adultery comes from the lusting after the situation. See, take business, for example. Why do people get cheated in business? Why are some people willing to do anything to make $5 or $10, or willing to steal, or willing to do all these things? We just get it in our mind. We justify it in our mind. There's a big thing going around Facebook today is Elon Musk doesn't need to be worth $200 billion. Listen, yes, he does. If you come up with an idea and everybody wants that idea and you can make money off of it, you shouldn't be penalizing somebody for doing that, because with that, people create jobs off of that. See, that's what makes the United States different than all these other countries. There's some countries you go to and they evaluate you and they decide what you're going to do. For example, we're in love with China on a lot of the things they do because they ship all this cheap stuff over here. And, a lot of people want us to be socialist and want to be communist. Well, here's what happens in that. You take a test in China and it says, okay, man, you're really good in English. You're going to be an English teacher. You're really good in math. You're going to be a math teacher. Oh, wow, you took your test. You're not really good at anything. You're out there in the rice paddies picking vegetables, I mean, that's how they judge it in these countries. And for the United States of America, for all these crazy groups of people to be, the government's cheating me, or they're giving everybody money, but they're not giving it to me. I mean, there's some truth in that, is the fact if you can give a tax break to somebody that's worth billions and they're not paying taxes, we ought to be able to help out us average people. Considering probably you could change most people's life with $40,000 or $50,000, right? Maybe they could pay off a vehicle. Maybe they could pay a down payment on a house, but yet we'll give billions to other countries in the name of national security, right? All this stuff is mentally weighing on people's mind, and that's why the chaos is in the country like it is, and that's why people do want to fight you over their political position, but they don't want to fight you over their Jesus position because they abandoned that position. Does that make sense? They've quit thinking about the things of God because they're like, well, if God's letting this happen, there must not be a God. God's letting this happen because he said it would happen in here, and he told you to be prepared, and we're not prepared, right? I've lost a lot of good friends here in the last probably 5 or 6 years over this crazy, craziness of society. And, and once again, I guarantee you, if they defended their side is the rich are getting richer. And Lunsford, you believe in capitalism. That's why, you're taking business aside, and we believe in this side, and we believe everybody ought to be getting a free check every month. Well, the problem with the free check every month is that's not money that was just laying there in a bank account that they're giving out. They're pushing that money back in and recycling it out and then raising everybody's taxes to pay it. Now, I'm with you. Everybody ought to pay a fair tax, right? But we'll say it sometimes that, the billionaires don't pay the taxes, and that's not fair. But at the same time, there's a lot of people that run around here and don't pay any taxes in, and they get $5,000 or $10,000 back at the end of the year. So there's a bunch of people in the middle that do all the paying. We call that the middle class, right? So let me go a little further because I'm gonna finish this morning because this has been on my mind for a while. So get you a cup of coffee, get you another biscuit, because I want to talk to you about your mindset, what you're thinking, what's going through your mind, how it relates to the 10 Commandments, and how we have to be careful with the things that we're thinking. We have a country where 50% of the people in it get divorced, right? Well, you don't know what I was living with. He was a maniac. I'm absolutely fine with that, right? Whatever it is. But now in the Bible, once again, to draw it back to the Bible, other than your spouse having a sexual relationship with another person, there is no lawful bill of divorce. But Jesus says because of the hardness of men's heart, they won't forgive. It's really funny. We want God to forgive us of everything, but man, let somebody's spouse cheat on them. Oh man, they cheated on me. I'm just leaving out of here and I'm never coming back. And, and it's like, man, I have cheated on Jesus a million times. I have done the wrong thing in front of Jesus. The 25 years I've been saved, I've done wrong, but the first 30 years of my life, I deserved death. And now, my wife's done something which was clearly stupid or clearly a mistake, but I want another chance. I want to get me a new wife. I mean, if you say it like that, it don't even make sense, you know. But my point of this is we're always looking what's across the fence. The grass is always greener on the other side. We can't wait. Oh man, well, if I could just start over. You know, some people get saved and get divorced. They're like, I want a new relationship, and my wife's on drugs, or my wife is not good to me, or my husband's a cheating maniac. Now, once again, the cheating, it's right here. You know, divorce is fine with that. So, but it's a commitment from society. See, we're not committed to our husbands or wives. And now if that's our partner, and if the church is symbolic as the bride of Christ, and we're not in a partnership where we love our wife or our husband, boy, it would make it real hard to be in that other relationship where I'm part of the bride of the church, right? Part of the body of the church. And then Jesus, why would Jesus want a relationship with me if I'm treating my spouse a certain way? Pretty scary, isn't it? Which we all fall short on attention we pay our spouse, right? Well, we got to work. Well, we got the kids. Well, we got Little League. Well, we got travel ball. Well, we got to work, you know, which we do have to work, right? So our commitment, we have a commitment problem in the United States of America. That's led to a divorce problem. That's led to stepfathers. And once again, man, I preached this many years ago. I mean, I can remember the girl. I went to school with her brother, went to school with her. Man, she went crazy because I said step parents molest children. It's not true in every case, but let's be honest. Who is more apt to molest somebody, a step parent or a real parent? Now, some places in rural America, it could be a real parent, right? Why? Because there's no natural affection toward our kids anymore. Isn't that heartbreaking? You wonder why kids are wild and crazy in school? Nobody cares about them. Nobody tells them, hey, you can't be doing that. Nobody disciplines kids. School can't discipline your kid anymore. I don't know. You probably know that if you know anything about school, right? You cannot discipline a child anymore in school. The only kid that's disciplined in school today is the one trying to follow the rules. The one that said, heck with it, I'm just going to be a lunatic and they can, you know, shove it, whatever you want to say. They don't say anything to that kid. Right? Number one, they don't want the aggravation with the parents. Number two, it's just a big, long journey to throw them out of school. And there's where you're at. There's your problem. And that's why your school system is failing. That's why in West Virginia, this Hope Scholarship will absolutely break public schools. But it needs broken. Sometimes you got to have something and realize it's completely broken before you become willing to fix it. And I hope it happens. Not to destroy the kids or hurt the kids or cost teachers their jobs, because the teachers are going to be needed in the new schools. But here's what's going to happen. You're going to get a good paycheck in the new school, and there's going to be discipline in the classroom where the kids aren't going to be there. It's not fair for you to ruin the education for other children because your kid is a maniac. And why the public school system, well, I know why they can't. They've played both sides of this all these years. Oh, you don't understand Johnny's backstory. They've let it go and let it go and let it go. And that's why we've got the problems that we've got today. See? All right. Let me get you past, anger can lead to murder. Got to be cautious of our thoughts of anger toward others. Lusting and lusting and lusting makes me make a plan, makes me want to commit adultery. Got to be careful with that one. The commitment issue. We're not committed, so therefore we're apt to get a divorce, and the divorce was kind of a forbidden thing under the law, right? Speaking the truth. Nobody even has a clue what that is anymore. I'm going to speak the truth as long as I can, but look, I'm on the campaign trail. I got to say what I got to say in front of this group. Then I'm going to go down here and talk to this other group, and then I'm going to say what I got to say down here. And man, I'm just going to win this election, and then when I get in there, then I'll do the right thing. If you could take a candidate and you could look on their heart, they're all saying that right now. That's what they do. You know, well, I'm going to do this, man. I'm going to be so good to your group. Man, you know I'm for you. Go down the street, man, you know I'm for you. Well, you can't be for everybody. I had a real good friend of mine who was also involved in politics. She said, if you're everybody's friend, you're nobody's friend. Now, there's a lot of truth in that in everything, but in Jesus. See, if I'm a friend of Jesus and I've got what Jesus wants me to do in my heart and in my head, and I know what I'm supposed to do, I should be able to love everybody, right? I should be able to be good to everybody, and there should be nothing. If I can do something for you, I should be trying to do it, right? But the speaking of the truth, man, we're so bad about that. It's just a little white lie. Well, it don't mean anything. My grandma Lunsford had this saying. She said, tell the truth if it hangs Paul. And for years, I was like, does she mean P-A-U like the Apostle Paul, or is there another Paul? What is she talking about? She's saying, tell the truth if it hangs your own dad. In our country today, if everybody told the truth, if it would hang their own father, it'd be a completely different place. This would almost be heaven on earth, because everybody's lying about everything, right? I mean, these politicians, man, I mean, you have two senators running against each other for a job, and they're both telling you what a crook the other one is, and what, the other one's cheated on his income tax, and the other one's done this. And, it's like, man, it's no wonder that people don't want to run for office, because who wants to get their brains beat out, right? Not only beating on the scoreboard, I mean, that shouldn't matter to anybody that's running for office. They got to get beyond how many votes they get. But just beating and beating and beating on people. I mean, it's insanity, right? So, speak the truth. Now, here's the next one is retaliation. See, retaliation was allowed by the law in the Old Testament, okay? Well, once again, to back up on speaking the truth, thou shalt not lie is right there in the Ten Commandments. So, God's pretty big on not lying. But here's my deal, Tim Gilfillan. What do you think about Tim Gilfillan? I really like Tim. I mean, what are you looking at? I told you I liked Tim, but what am I doing when you ask me and I go, we do that all the time about people. How do you like so-and-so? Oh, man, I don't talk about people. I mean, when you've said all you could say with your body language, right? So there is that, speaking the truth. Let your yea be yea and your nay be nay. That may be right in here somewhere. But, man, I'm with the group right now, and I know what they want to hear from me, so I'm going to slant this thing. Lord, forgive me, but I'm going to, I know what they want me to say, and I'm going to say it. And Lord, I don't believe it. Well, what do you got there, right? Yeah, I probably need an expert like you to come on and assist me with the truth. You always think about the movie, what was that one? You Can't Handle the Truth. One of the greatest lines in movie history, right? Jesus said, I am the truth, right? I am the truth. I am the way, right? So, very good. Yes, we should. So, speak the truth. But now here's the forgiveness. And I was getting into the forgiveness because in the law, it said there's retaliation. Remember when I said if somebody killed your brother, whether it was an accident or whether it was on purpose, you had the right to retaliate as a family member, hunt that person down and kill them. And that's where this city of refuge message, we've all heard it taught and preached. But Jesus now, see, Jesus, when he comes on, remember what he said? Love God with all your heart, mind, and soul. And your second commandment is love others like you love yourself. Then he tossed in a little something on forgiveness. As you forgive, it's going to be forgiven unto you. And you're like, well, I ain't forgiving nobody. If you've done something to me, I can't wait. I'm paying you back. Can't be done. Well, I don't care what anybody says. You do something to my kids, I'm going to pay you back. And then Jesus comes later in the Gospels with love your enemies. Love somebody I was going to retaliate against. Love somebody I was mad enough to kill him, and I was allowed to kill him. And now this guy named Jesus has come on the scene, and he's talked about forgiveness. Now, if this was in Jesus' time and retaliation was allowed right up to the moment Jesus lets this be known, man, you talk about changing your thoughts. See, that's our problem today. We're not changing our thinking. I think that the Republicans are the best party, and ain't nothing changing my thinking. I'm a Democrat. Dad was a Democrat. Granddad was a Democrat. Ain't nobody changing my thinking. That ain't a bit Jesus. There ain't a bit of Jesus in either side of that. Is Jesus a Democrat or Republican? I've got a book I need to bring you and read some on that. Well, we know Jesus is not a Democrat and Jesus is not a Republican, right? Once again, we let man-made things like your church denomination, like your political party, get us completely sidetracked from reality, right? we will not forgive anybody for any little thing. And that's why Jesus gave us that parable in there of the guy that, let's just bring it to present day terms. This guy owed $10 million. He appeared before the guy he owed the $10 million to. And the guy says, well, I'm selling you into debtor's prison, cutting my losses. I'm going to take your wife, your kids, enslave them. You'll be my slave. Whatever assets you do have at the house, I'm going to go over and I'm going to take those. And, we're just going to, we're going to cash them in and, get out of my sight. And this guy's like begging and begging. And he's like, oh, I'm going to pay you. I'm going to pay you. Well, I've been broke a few times and I'm ashamed to admit it. I was in a mortgage meltdown. I was in a dot-com bust when I had businesses operating when we thought we were going up. And then all of a sudden one day it just crashed. I know all there is to know about failure. And that's why I can always talk to you about failure, because I've had my share, right? But when we look at the society, man, people just, there's no forgiveness. People don't understand that things are beyond your control, that there's nothing you can do about it. And this forgiveness and judgment are first cousins, I think. I even shared that in my message last week, because nobody's willing to forgive anybody. And I told you about that parable. The guy owed $10 million and he begged and he cried, and the Lord said, finally, all right, son, you'll be fine. Well, there was no way that guy was ever going to be able to pay that debt, but he let him go. Then he's walking down the street. Can you imagine the relief? The guy's probably walking this far off the ground because of the relief. Well, then he spots a guy that owes him $10. Now, let me back up real quick, because I threw a lot of gibber in there in between. He owed $10 million and it was all forgiven. Now he's come over here to this situation. He sees somebody that owes him $10. He runs across the street. He grabs him by the throat. He throws him down. I need that $10. If I don't get that $10, I'm swearing out a magistrate warrant. I'm putting you in jail. And that's it for you, And then the Lord heard about that, or his master, the overseer, whatever it was. He calls him back in. He said, wait a second. Did I forgive you a $10 million? Yes, sure did. He says, and did I hear this correctly, that you just went out of here 5 minutes ago and you went down the road, you attacked somebody because they owed you $10? Yeah. Yeah, I need that $10. See, there'd be people that still be justifying that. Yeah, well, I got to have that $10. That guy owes me that $10. Wait a second. You didn't get this at all. See, when Jesus forgave you, Timmy Roth and Tim Gilfillan and Matthew and Brooke Lunsford and Greg Lunsford, and when he forgave you a debt that you couldn't get paid in a million years. He also forgave you all them sins that are going to happen from here forward, and we're going to sin, right? Learning tools. That's good. I got a lot of learning tools in my toolbox, Matthew. But I try a lot of stuff, and part of that's good and bad. And, ask my wife, that's why I had to marry a saint like my wife, because, of that thing. But here it is. This is so simple for us to look at this and say, well, daggone, that guy only owed him $10. And that's the thing about you and me. If I've hurt your feelings, I'm sorry. If I've ever said anything to you, I'm sorry. Whatever I've done to you wrong, within reason, I'm going to try my best to apologize to you, because I want you to look at me as somebody that's telling you the truth about Jesus. But here's the thing. If I'm still judging you and I'm still mad at you and I won't forgive you, then, and I still want to say I'm saved, and I look back at the $100 billion of sin, I equate it to money. I don't know, maybe that's wrong. I owed $100 billion that I could never have paid. Jesus wiped the slate clean and said, go forward and just tell people about my love and forgiveness. And he said, I'm going to forgive you as you forgive other people. Man, I should forgive. And I had a deal there, man, like I said, I think it was the housing thing. I had a guy that I could have pushed to pay me, but I'm like, man, I can't pay nobody. Why would I be pushing this guy? And I've thought about that parable many times. Man, it would have helped me. I could have really, it would have been a temporary fix, But anyway, another story. Let me give you, the forgiveness goes right with the last one, which was love for your enemies. Let me tell you why I love my enemies. I love people that don't like me. Number one, I've never been very smart. But I'm telling you why I love people that don't like me. Because number one, sometimes people don't like me because of this program, right? A lot of people don't like me because of who I was before I got saved, and I can completely understand that. But I'm asking you to forgive me if that's you, because of the simple fact I was a raging lunatic, and you've got every right to dislike me. But what you'll not be able to do is to come before Jesus one day and say, Jesus, I need to get into heaven. And Jesus is going to say, what? Depart from me, I never knew you. Well, wait a second, Jesus, Lunsford's in heaven. And man, that guy crooked me. He rooked me. He was a raging lunatic. He talked mean to me. He was nasty. He stole something off me. Whatever. It's all sin, right? So it doesn't matter what I've done to you. It was bad. It was ugly. It was whatever. And God's like, wait a second. You wanted a relationship that would last for eternity in a place called heaven with me, who died for your sins, and you based all that on Brooke Lunsford? Are you insane? Get out of here. Depart from me. I never knew you. See, we're cheating ourselves every single day out of a glorious relationship with Jesus Christ. What do you mean? I'm telling you, there is nobody that knows the relationship I have with Jesus Christ. Go broke a few times. Buddy, I'm telling you, people that like you don't want to hang with you when they know you're struggling. Number one, they're afraid you're going to ask for $100. Right? I mean, let's be honest. And I'm telling you, man, I feel like sometimes in my deals, I've been like a car run over a dog and just drag that dog down the road. I'm sorry for that graphic at 7:40 in the morning. But I'm telling you, God uses my failures, sort of like Matthew is saying, to tell you, if you're hurting and you want to talk to me, feel free, because there's a good chance I know how you feel. There's a lot of people, oh man, I know how you feel. Oh, really? You've lost everything you own? No, man, no, I ain't done that. You ever owned a business? No, I ain't. See, until you've owned a business and you've thought, man, my friends and family are going to support this business, and you owned it and then they didn't, then that's a problem. You're like, wow, man, I really intended, I thought these people would help. It's just like my nonprofit and all the things we're doing. There's some Christians right now looking long down their nose at the raffle application that's getting ready to come out, but yet they'll go sell somebody that's a borderline diabetic a dozen donuts for $12 and think they did a good thing. And all we're trying to do is get rid of stupid fundraisers like that. See? But once again, it all turns back to the forgiveness, loving people, caring about people. Because you say, you need to love your enemies. Why do I need to care about my enemies? I want that person in hell because they've done the wrong thing to me. Man, that's not the right answer, right? I want to show them Jesus so much in my life that I'll bend over backwards for somebody that I know doesn't like me, right? Or somebody that I didn't like, and there's some of those too. But I almost love it when I see somebody shun me, and I'm pretty good on body language. I've had a lot of training on different stuff. I can watch somebody almost jump the aisle at Walmart to get away from speaking to me, right? We've all got that. And here's the thing. I can go badmouth them, and I can talk about them, and I can do all these things, but I'm never going to get them to Jesus doing that. And I don't care what somebody's done to you. And once again, I'm not saying there's not some evil. If you know somebody that's a child molester, if you know somebody that has, done this sexual stuff toward other people, whether it's rape, whether it's child molestation, I'm not saying there's not true evil in the world, okay? And I'm not trying to tell you that you should try to minister to Satan when he comes to you in your moment of sin either, But I am telling you, for the most part, we're just like that parable of we were forgiven $100 billion of sin. Somebody owes me $20, and I've never let them forget it. There's some people specialize in getting $20 off of you. We know there are. But what's the most important thing? Me getting my $20, I'm never getting that $20 back. Why not try to get that relationship back with, hey, I got saved. I want to tell you about Jesus. Jesus is all that matters, right? And that's the truth. I went a little bit over today, but I wanted to get this in. This has been on my mind a long time because, man, I take things in through my eye gate, my ear gate, my mouth gate, my nose gate. I see all this stuff. Sometimes I try to make a plan for something to happen that shouldn't happen. Sometimes I'm out here speculating. Sometimes I'm lusting after something. Sometimes I'm coveting something. Man, I can't afford a new car, but my neighbor bought one. Every time he buys something, I got to buy something. You know, I knew a husband and wife one time. Every time the wife went and bought something, the husband had to buy something. That was crazy to me. I remember when I first got married, we didn't have anything, right? And I was in my 30s, right? I should have had something, right? But I've told you why I didn't, you know. I mean, we would go every week, we'd get paid. One week we bought a lawnmower. One week we bought a washer and a dryer. One week we bought a TV. And, you know, I'm in my 30s. I mean, to talk about a slow learner, that was me. But, you know, we almost got in that thing. We did get in it for a while. Every week we just buying something. Because, see, a lot of people, that's why food is my thing. I'm going to get up in the middle of the night and eat. I got to go buy something. I got to buy something. I got to feel good about myself. And once again, that's how we get ourselves in a bind. See? So lots of that. We could just go on forever on our thoughts. Our thoughts are important. Our thoughts need to be confessed. Lord, forgive me for thinking that. Man, I should not have thought that. Man, I shouldn't have looked at that. Man, I better stay off that website. Man, I better, you know. And we've all got that, right? Whatever it may be, you know. And you say, well, I don't look at any naked people on the internet. Maybe you look at food so long that you get up and eat a whole bag of Fritos or something. You know what I'm saying? Because we've all got something. And my thing is, my thing may not be your thing. You may look at what I do and say, well, Brooke, Lunsford, why you do that for? That's stupid. Well, it's stupid because you don't do it. But the Bible says we all do the same things. You know, we all look at other people. We all judge what other people are doing when at the same time we're doing the same things. Craziness in it. All right, I got to let you guys go. These are days, man, I could just go on and on and on. We used to go for 3 hours some nights, Derek Cumpston and I. But, you know, if we had your prayer, you had your prayer request and prayer list and people on here like we are right now. I mean, it can go. I mean, it can be a while. So, all right, if you have a prayer request, feel free to drop it down here and we will try to remember it. Man, everything needs prayed for. I hope this election, I hope it's a no doubter tomorrow. Whatever you're voting for, and I also hope you'll thank these people willing to put their lives out there, willing to put their money. Because these big candidates that have millions of dollars and get millions of dollars, you know, I mean, it's a business for them. But these little guys out here running for the House of Delegates, running for these county offices, they're not getting money. They're putting their own money out. They're putting their own time out. They're taking time away from their business, their families, all because they want to try to help in society, right? So be thinking about that. Have a great day. Lord, I love you. Man, I'm the chief among us sinners too, and I know it. And I'm trying to do better. And I mean, there's things I see that I shouldn't be seeing. There's things I hear I shouldn't be doing or hearing. There's things I'm saying I shouldn't be saying. I'm as guilty as ever. This is a lesson that hits me right between the eyes. I know all there is to know about this lesson, right? Because I live it and I live it and I live it. And every time, you know, I do something stupid or say something stupid, I got to sit with myself for a day or two and just shake my head and think, man, I'm so glad, God, that there is endless forgiveness. But at the same time, man, I want to do better. I want to do a better job. I want to be somebody people look at and say, I want what Lunsford's has. I don't want somebody to look at me and say, man, what a painful hypocrite that dude is. He is sending more people the wrong way than he is the right way. And that's the main thing for all of us. Lord, our prayer list is long today. Man, if each and every one of us could just lay our hearts open here today. We know people that are hurting. We know about the little rider boy at Cabell Midland last week. What a tragic situation. We know about the bullying in schools. We know about the lack of control and the lack of discipline in schools. And that's why we're praying for our students and we're praying for our teachers and we're praying for the system. But once again, we've got to break free from the federal government, which is hard to do because they're the ones that are taxing and have all the money. So once again, West Virginia wants to be away from the federal government, But when over half of our revenues come from the federal government, it's hard to get away from that. See, we're owned by the system and the corruption that they've created. Heartbreaking. Our men and women in the military, they're willing to go all over the world and protect us. Please pray for these men and women that are out there. Please pray that they would follow today's lesson and be faithful where they're at, and their families back home would be faithful here. Also, be with our veterans that have already served us in hopes that if there's anything in this world we can do for our veterans, that we will do it. And I do have some things for that right now, folks, if you want to take a look at it. They'll make a donation to the Camaraderie Foundation for the veterans. Also, Lord, we ask for you to be with our policemen, our firefighters, and our first responders. These men and women every single day are on the front lines of the drug epidemic, the front lines of the chaos in these inner cities, the front lines of the needle exchanges and the drop needles in the parks and the places out here in the rural settings, and just every day relentless like a tidal wave. Please be with these men and women and protect them. Please get them the respect that they deserve from us. We want to be there for these folks, man. We love them and we appreciate what they're doing. Our teachers and our students and our schools, so much, as I've already said, so much prayer is needed there. Also, we want you to please be with our hospitals. Hospitals, again, the people are burned out. People don't want to work. People calling in sick, and then somebody else feels guilty and has to go and cover. And once again, it's adding to the aggravation. It's adding to the anger. And it's just all this stuff ratcheting up due to COVID and due to these other things. And we're just living in a society where, Lord, you know as well as me, people just are not going to commit. We talked about it this morning, to the things like they used to do. People died at their jobs, working 40, 50, 60 hours a week. We've raised a generation of kids today that don't even want their driver's license. That was the main thing at 16 in our household, is get those driver's licenses, get some freedom, get out here and go. That's gone. So, Lord, you know what's coming down the road because you gave it to us in the Bible. So, Lord, we ask for you to pray. We pray to you to prolong the days. We're praying and praying that you will, not because we want to be here any longer. We want to go today, but we do want to give our enemies a chance to get saved. We do want to give our family and our friends a chance to see the light that's in our lives, the light that you've commanded us to shine before other people. Please give us that chance. Please give us that stage. I love social media. My wife tells me to get off of it, leave it alone. But I love it. I get my message out. Listen, this is a little space the devil doesn't get this morning because our Sunday school class is in this space. So I appreciate each and every one of you more than you'll ever know. Would I love to go Sunday and teach or preach a big message in front of 50, 100, 200, 500, 1,000 people? Oh, sure. But I'm going to tell you something. I just soon talk to 2 or 3 gathered together in the name of the Lord like we do right here. Because every time we do that, he is in the midst. And I know Jesus can work in a big crowd, but if you notice, a lot of times when he fed the 5,000, he didn't do that very often. And most of the time it was one-on-one, just like we're sitting here thinking about it, contemplating the things, contemplating a long eternity in a place called heaven with no more tears, no more sorrow, and no more pain. And Lord, we thank you for preparing that place. We can't wait to get the call to go to the house and see what's going on and cast that crown before your feet. Thank you so much for bringing us into that fellowship. Thank you for taking our grandparents and them being there and our parents. And man, we're going to see some people. We're going to know them as they are. And I cannot wait. Forgive us where we fail you, and we'll give you praise, honor, and glory for it all. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. All right. Good to see you made it, Connie. So good. I love that you're sharing your Sunday school. Connie's in a great Bible study. Lots of good information. I saw her share it, and I tried to share it. So, Connie, make sure you share it. And you guys go find Connie as a friend. She is an absolutely wonderful lady. That I've known her name for years in the political realm of things. But we've gotten to know each other a little better. And she's just a fantastic soul. And we appreciate your work so much. And Matthew Harris, I know I've been busy as crazy the last few days, but I will try to follow up with you and get you some information on some of our things. If you follow Matthew Matthew is sharing our message, the same Sunday school class, through LinkedIn, through TikTok, through Twitter, through YouTube, and he's got you going out. You're going out there, man. You are out. And once again, one person at a time. We don't care if we see one person get saved or 100 people get saved, but we got to do it. Don't think anything's too big and don't think anything's too small. And Rex, I know you and I have been talking. I've been covered up. I'll tell you what happened to me. Let me tell you real quick because I know everybody's busy. I was looking to add vacations to my nonprofit because I got this nonprofit app that's getting ready to come. And you're going to be able to sign up for this application. And if you see a cause on there that you want to support, you buy a $1 ticket, right? And then it goes, and you have a chance to win what we're giving away. Well, I wanted to give away vacations. And what's so crazy is I got into this thing and I started talking to this one company and they're like, hey man, we want you to come and manage this sales location at Cabela's in Southridge in Charleston. I'm like, I've never even been in Cabela's. What is that? I mean, I knew it was hunting and fishing, right? So anyway, I am going to be adding these vacations into this nonprofit because people can't afford to take a vacation. And I want to help them. I want it to go through the nonprofit. I want it to be affordable. I want somebody to win a vacation for $1. So I want you to win that vacation for $1. And I'm sorry if this offends you in our Sunday school class to talk about raffles and things like that, you know, but it's just life. Your kids, if they're involved in anything, man, they got them selling something. And I hate it. I hate selling fruit. I hate selling candy bars. And then some parents don't even let their kids play sports because we ain't selling nothing, you know. And then kids are looked down on if their parents can't go sell stuff at their work when some places just don't allow that. So that's my justification for all this. And it's sad that a lot of kids don't even take part in extracurricular activities because their parents won't let them sell something. And they shouldn't be selling something. They didn't sign up to sell something. If they want to sell something, come sell real estate with me or insurance or something. Anyway, I'm going to cut that off. But watch for that. Anybody, we got up to, 8 days and 7 night trips. We do the 4 day, 3 day, or 4 night, or 4 day, 3 day getaway. Basically $9. Okay. Now you got to listen to the presentation. That's the timeshare part of it. That's the painful part. But you just tell them you don't want it. And where we're in partnership with Cabela's would kick us out if we were trying to push something on you like the old style timeshare. So anyway, sorry if that offends you. I'm not trying to offend you, but we've got everything so compartmentalized that we can't really pull our resources together and help people. You see, and I feel like it has to be done. You've got to pull your resources because none of us have endless resources. And if somebody does, they're not helping. Because, see, they think that you're struggling because it's your fault. We're struggling because we're in a sin-cursed world. We're struggling because we weren't born with a silver spoon in our mouth. We're struggling because we lost our job. We're struggling because of medical bills, and we're trying to pay them, and there ain't no way you can pay your medical bills. If you don't have health insurance and something happens to you, you need to put that out of your mind and just, there ain't no use to worry about that. You need to just pray to the Lord and just say, I'm sorry, because there ain't no way a person could pay their individual medical expenses right now. So anyway, man, I don't know where all this free stuff came from this morning. I'm sorry. I'm going to let you go. Guys, we love you. Like I said, I've been covered up this weekend. Weekends are pretty strong in this deal. But I'm free the next couple of days to get some information to you guys, and I'll get it out, and we'll go from there. Have a great day. We love you in Jesus. Appreciate you. And have a great day. Looks like the sun's coming up. It looks like we got one more week before the weather goes zoom. So pay attention. See you. Hey guys, this thing might be backwards today. I keep forgetting that some days we have these things backwards because of whatever we're doing here. Let me give you, yeah, it's not going to help you either, is it? All right. Basically a little booklet, God Bless America. We're going to go through and do a few things from it this morning. America's God and Country, a book by William J. Federer. and the hope of a nation that prays. So once again, lots of good stuff here. I've picked these things up over the years, and I won't read you the whole book, but there's always some really good stuff in there. And Tony, it's good to see you this morning. Maureen, it's good to see you. I'm sorry the screen's backwards, but I think if I turn the camera around, or I think what it is, I need to turn the phone around is what I would do. And if I do that, then I can't tell if I'm on the screen or not, which maybe that's a good thing. I don't know. So good morning. It's election day, and I know these wordings are backwards because, my screen is backwards. But we're going to look through some of the noble things, some of the hope for the nation that prays, some of the places in history like George Washington praying and Abraham Lincoln and some of the things when we had a lot of issues and lots of things going on in our country, just like we do today. And I hope we get something out of it. Because to say God bless America, we've said that in a lot of things. God bless America. God has blessed America. God has put America out there beyond everything. If you measure us by our economy, we've got the largest economy in the world. If you measure us by our freedom's leaps and bounds. A lot of things. So yeah, Terry, whatever you want to do, if you want to throw them out there or let me know, whatever, we'll try to discuss them. And once again, it's not hard to trick me because, I know a little bit about the Bible, but there's always more to be learned, right? So this book that I'm showing you, my mom gave it to me, but this book is dedicated to the men of all origins, men and women, the people of all origins who have helped to make America great. We honor especially the men and women of all branches of the military in the United States of America who offer their lives for the causes of freedom. May God continue to bless America and guide us in this cause of justice, liberty, and peace. See, there's a lot going on in our country today, and a lot of people would have you to believe, well, we weren't founded on the things of God. We didn't ask God to help us. We didn't ask God to carry us. But when we start looking through some of this stuff, it doesn't take us very long to realize that, hey, man, these leaders of the free world from George Washington in this book here, and I would pick this up if I were you, and I know, I'm sorry, it's backwards, but it's America's God and Country. It's an encyclopedia of quotations from William J. Federer, and you can see I've flagged a few pages in it. It's got the Declaration of Independence in there where they mention in all the paragraphs of it that they're relying on the providential care of the supreme ruler and the creator of the universe. Guess who that is, right? And guess what? There's no way we should have beaten Britain, okay? There's no way this should have been a country. Man, we had no resources. They blockaded us. Without the providential care of God, you just don't have what we have today. And that's why when we have men and women who serve us in the military, that's why praying for those men and women is at the top of the list. And if you have served, we appreciate you as Veterans Day approaches because you didn't have to go in this day and time because other people went before you and paved the way. The draft was not necessary, right? So that's another reason to thank him. If you're a big coward and a big sissy like I probably would have been, you need to thank the people who went and were willing to die for you. Right? So let me give you something else. I think we're at a great civil war in this country, and I think tonight about midnight you'll still see it's raging on. I think we pretty much have got it leveled down where half the people believe in a Democrat platform and half the people believe in a Republican platform. Let me share with you the speech that Abraham Lincoln gave at his second inaugural address when the Civil War had been beaten down, I guess you would say, or the insurrection. And here's what he said about all people. And I would say this is probably what you and I need to say to these people that have lost their minds on so many different thoughts and concepts. But it says, with malice toward none, right? Malice. Look, I'm not going to judge you how you vote today. If you say something silly on Facebook, I'm probably going to let it go, right? But look, with malice toward none, with charity for all. Now, charity has kind of evolved as a word. We support a charity. Well, charity is good works, right? But charity in the Bible times was love, right? So love toward all these people, because listen, if your granddad was a Democrat and your dad was a Democrat, guess what you probably are, right? If your granddad was a Republican and you were a Republican, or your dad, it is what it is. Now, a lot of people have made a lot of changes, and some people are starting to look around and say, there's some people that just don't love America. There's some people that don't love the concept of the United States of America. And if you're out here and you're trying to get a free check, or you're thinking it would be better if the government ran everything and just gave you an allowance, that's not what these men fought and died for, right? That's not what the current military is around the world protecting our points of interest, because they'd rather be at the house, right? So with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. See, I don't care what your politics is today. There's something beyond your politics, and that is the truth that's in the Bible. The way I treat people, the way we treat kids in this country, in the school system, I try to help out. But I'm not going to let some kid just be a complete lunatic, right? If we can't do something and discipline that child, then I'm going to have to say, let the next man handle this. And I'm not saying that we weren't maniacs, Rex Hodge, Mike Black, because we were. But at the same time, you got to have some discipline in these classrooms, right? So what is right? Let us strive, right, to finish the work that we are in. So Abraham Lincoln is saying, God, give us to see the right. See, I can be as Democrat as I want and end up in hell. I could be as Republican as I want and end up in hell. But at the end of the day, the devil loves both sides of your political beliefs, because it's a distraction away from what does God want to see happen in all of this, right? So with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. What's God's plan in all this, right? So let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds. Folks, we're in a civil war today. The thing is, it's not based on a north and a south line drawn across our country. It's in our houses. Mom believes one thing, dad believes another, right? And therein is why it's a defeat. It's going to take the United States down at some point, because there's no way to fight against the evil and the tyranny and the things that are coming, because the Bible said it would be this way. But now that we're seeing this way, man, we better wake up and we better pay attention. We better pray to God, because we better pray for our nation, because we are a beacon of hope for the whole world. How come everybody wants to come here? Look, we're giving people food at the borders. We're giving people more stuff at the border than people that are working for it are getting out here. Now, granted, I don't necessarily agree with the process in that, but on the other hand, we're all immigrants, right? But with terrorism and all these other things and the people that want to bring down the United States of America, we probably need to pay attention at the gate, right? So, how are we going to bind up the nation's womb? To care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan. So Lincoln is saying, look, a lot of people have died in this civil war. How in the world do we reconcile with people that hate the North or hate the South? Or, how do we get back to that? And Lincoln has given this second inaugural address. He's recognizing problems, and this is 1865. So you're talking about over 160 years ago, or roughly 160 years ago, when this was given out. So let me just read it, and then I'll go on, because you probably don't need my comments on this. It says, with malice toward none, with charity for all, with firmness in the right as God gives us to see the right. Let us strive on to finish the work we are in, to bind up the nation's wounds, to care for him who shall have borne the battle, and for his widow and his orphan, and to all which may achieve and cherish a just and lasting peace among ourselves and with all nations. See, everybody wants peace, right? We're all after peace. Why can't we have peace? Well, we can't have peace because the devil's right in the mix of all this stuff, okay? We've got a song here, America, my country, 'tis of thee, sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died. Hey, look here. You know, why did they die? Some of them died fighting for freedom, right? Land of the pilgrims cry, from every mountainside let freedom ring. Why would Samuel S. Smith sit down and write about the freedom? Is because the whole world looks at the United States. Why do you think that these two sides are fighting over who gets to control the money so hard? Because of the freedom, or because of handling the money, these people think you can take that wealth with them. Now, once again, we all, are trying to get here and make a living, right? But why do you think, are they fighting this hard to help you or help me? They're wanting to get their hand in the gravy train, right? But at the same time, you and I have a responsibility, because with all the checks and balances and with this Declaration of Independence and all these amendments, God did get his part in there. And I'll jump right on that. Let me just pause for a second and read to you. For those that don't, that may have missed this in some of our readings, but let me just read to you 4 sentences, okay? And those 4 sentences are going to come out of the Declaration of Independence. And what they're going to tell us is what the Founding Fathers. Now, were these 56 men living at the foot of the cross and all pastors of their own church? I have no clue, okay? A lot of people would say, they don't believe this, they don't believe that. Well, here's what they wrote down. Generally, I don't write down something if I don't believe it, right? But we've all heard the Declaration of Independence. When in the course of human events it becomes necessary for one people to dissolve the political bands which have connected them with another, and to assume among the powers of the earth a separate and equal station to which the laws of nature and of nature's God entitles them. So once again, somebody threw out God there in the very first paragraph. And what was it all about? It was about the fact that there is a separate and equal station. There is a law of nature that says, look, there needs to be freedom. There needs to be opportunity. We don't need kings. We came to this country to get away from the kings and the tyrannies and the monarchies and dictatorships and all that stuff. So, goes into the second paragraph. We hold these truths to be self-evident. Folks, there's a lot of truth that you're going to come before God one day, and you will have known your whole life these truths were self-evident, and you didn't pay attention to them, right? But here's what the Declaration of Independence tells me. It says, we hold these truths to be self-evident. Meaning, look, we don't need to prove this. I'm going to say a sentence, and everybody needs to understand it, that all men are created equal. Well, we're 160 years past Lincoln's second inaugural address, and things still aren't equal in the United States of America as far as how we treat each other, right? And the opportunities that we have. I'm in ethics class for real estate, ethics class for insurance, all these different things. And you got to be fair to this class of people. You got to be fair to this class of people. You got to do this for this group of people. And all of it is trying to get us to be fair toward other people. But it wasn't anyone's idea to be fair. People would have you to believe, but it was in the Declaration that we would be free, and it was self-evident that all men are created equal and should be given an equal opportunity. So, they are endowed by their Creator. Oh, these guys don't believe in God. Well, why did they say they were endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights? It's written right here, right? That among these rights, see, you have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So once again, if you want to look at the fact of abortion and how heartbreaking it would have to be, a lot of women say, I have no right to say anything about abortion because I'm a man and I don't carry the child for 9 months. That's absolutely true. But I think from another standpoint, man, I would hate to have to live with the fact that I killed something that God says he created. Because there's 2 or 3 verses in the Bible that says, before you were formed in the womb, I knew you, and you were knitted fearfully and wonderfully made, was the second one, and you were knitted together by God. So there's 3 verses that say God's got a hand in the creation every time man and woman come together and have this sexual relationship that results in a child. But before they got involved with it, God was there. And that these folks have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Now, your right to life, right, is right there. So I don't know what we're fighting about and arguing about. It's guaranteed that you have a right to life right there. So to use it as a health plan, or to say, well, this kid is going to grow up and he's going to be, in the ghetto and he's not going to have a chance. Man, I tell you what, I don't want to make that call, right? Because he's guaranteed the right to life, and liberty is freedom, right? And the pursuit of happiness. Now, here's what's going on in this crazy world that we're living in today. In the pursuit of this happiness that's going on out there, a lot of people want to say, Pam, Butch, listen, you got to do this. And Pam and Butch say, well, I don't have to do that. Yeah, you do have to do that. Now, this brings you back to your abortion thing. Can I make you not have an abortion? Well, it's pretty scary stuff. I wouldn't want to be the doctor that was performing those stuff. I wouldn't want to be the nurse that was involved in that, right? But is it my call to stop you from doing anything? See, there's rules in society. Don't kill or you're going to go to jail. Don't steal, There's rules of law, and human government was set up. I know I've told you this too much when Noah got off the ark. So now I'm reading that I've got the right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So here's the deal. I can pursue my happiness right up to the time that he infringes on you, right? Mike Black, be safe out there. Appreciate you stopping in and appreciate what you do out there, and keep all them boys and girls working for you out there. Have a great day. So here we go. Let's look at this. You've got every right to life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Now, as you pursue your own happiness, you can't take somebody else's. Now, let's look at something on pursuing your happiness. I can't take what somebody else has got, and I need to learn to be happy with what I have. The Bible says, but it also goes a little further in that 10 commandment that we covered yesterday, coveting what somebody else has. Sometimes we drive ourselves crazy with this guy doesn't deserve that, and look what God gave him, or that maybe we don't even put that in there. Maybe we say this guy is a mean guy, this guy's a sinner, this guy's going to hell, and yet look at him, he's a millionaire. Listen, those people, they'll trade their millions when they lift up their eyes in hell, and you can go look at that in Luke 16, starting in verse 19, right? It's there, folks. And once again, one of the greatest happinesses of my life is just getting to a point where, I'm just happy, right? I'm pushing and pushing all these years to get something and do something and all these things. And now I'm sitting here and I'm like, man, I'm pretty happy today. Yesterday, I'll be honest, I didn't do anything yesterday, right? I'm trying to get this vacation thing entered into my nonprofit. So I'm having to learn a little bit of that. And by the way, they're paying me, which that's kind of nice too, to get paid, right? So, trying to fit it all in. So my weekend actually ends up being Monday and Tuesday for a while, right? But anyway, say all that to say this. We have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We, therefore, the representatives of the United States and General Congress assembled, appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world for the rectitude of our intentions. We're appealing to the Supreme Judge of the world. Who is that? That's God. What are we appealing to him? We are appealing means to pray. If you appeal to me or you appeal your conviction in court, they move it to the next level. If your appeal will be heard and you go and make your argument for your cause or your situation to the judge. Are you with me on this? So once again, I'm into the third paragraph, and now they're talking about the Supreme Judge of the world. What are we praying for? We're praying for the rectitude of our intentions. Rectitude is to build. Erect a building, I make it grow, or I build it, right? The rectitude of our intentions. Our intentions is to build this country, to have a right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, to have some self-evident things where everyone is created equal, everybody has a fair chance, and still even women in the workplace, they don't have a fair chance today. They don't get paid as much as men. And it's so sad in so many different cases, and I'm not going to get into it, but I could tell you some crazy stories on that. So our intention is to create a place that's never been created before, Lord, and we're relying on you. We're praying to you. Will you answer our prayer? And what did God do? Right? But let's see what else these men were willing to do. And it says, and for the support of this declaration, with a firm reliance on the protection of divine providence. Lord, we're relying on you and your divine providence because, number one, you can see around the curve. Number one, you're divine, or you're holy, and your providence, or you're providing the way here to where we need to go. Okay? We believe in your providence. We believe that you will provide the way, you'll provide the freedom, you'll provide all these things. Now, they didn't give it. It wasn't easy. Okay? And here's what these men that pledged, these 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence, here's how they conclude those first few paragraphs of the Declaration of Independence. We mutually pledge to each other. See, we don't pledge to each other. We're in a church. We got friends. We've got family. We're in church together. We're brothers. We're sisters. And you know, the world is such a busy place that I don't know. Well, I know this is a truth because I know my own family, and all three of us haven't been in church together in probably 2 or 3 months, right? But these men said, we mutually pledge to each other our lives, our fortunes, and our sacred honor. These men were willing to die for what they believed in. Is that coming in America today? Maybe. They look at this January 6th resurrection, or insurrection, I'm sorry, not resurrection, that happened, was that last year or 2 years ago? And, you know, a couple people went to jail, a few people from around here. You know, these people were willing to pledge their lives. They were willing to put their money up. I tell you what, you'll separate a lot of people out when you say, we're going to put our money in on this. Oh yeah, I got time. I can give my time, but I'm not giving that money. You'll find, Jesus said, where your heart is, that's where your treasure is also. You find people that don't want to give, and they'll do everything in the world to convince you that giving their time is as valuable as giving their money. And maybe it is, but here's the thing. It's what's important to you, right? If I got all kinds of time, I'll give you an hour here, and I got 100 hours to give you, right? But you start talking to somebody about money, it's kind of funny. We all feel sort of similar on money. Because, man, we all want to hold that money to the last second like we can take it with us, right? So, just real quick, these men pledged their lives, their fortunes, and their sacred honor. And I think the sacred honor is the personal relationship that some of these men had with Jesus Christ, where they said and they purposed in their hearts that no matter what happens, I'm going all the way with this thing. I'm believing in you, Lord. I believe in the right of this thing. You know, I believe that, you know, this is the land of opportunity. I believe it's, you know, there's going to be more freedom than there's ever been. There's the right to life, the liberty, the pursuit of happiness, you know, the right to worship the way that you want to. I mean, it's just all going to be powerful. Now, here's what happened to these 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence. They paid a tremendous price. Now, I'm not making this stuff up. This is America's God and Country, which is a book of quotes compiled by William J. Federer. And it said, of the 56 men that signed the Declaration of Independence, 5 were arrested by the British as traitors, 12 had their homes looted and burned by the enemy, 17 lost their fortunes, 2 lost sons in the Continental Army, 9 fought and died during the Revolutionary War. How do you feel about veterans today? These folks were our veterans, right? How do we feel about people that have willingly gone and died? Now, some people may say, well, our country's just, you know, they're in it for the big money people, and, you know, they're not really for freedom around the world, and we're exploiting all these third world countries. You know, the people who need to give an account, they're going to be given an account for what they do, okay? You don't have to worry about somebody missing out on judgment, because the judgment's going to come, all right? I was just looking to see if there was anything. God Bless America. We've all heard the Irving Berlin song, but just listen to the words of this. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with a light from above. From the mountains to the prairies to the oceans white with foam, God bless America, my home, sweet home. Pretty powerful, isn't it? Love America, love America. Let me give you something from Franklin Delano Roosevelt, right? In the future days, which we seek to make secure, we look forward to a world founded upon 4 essential human freedoms. Freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world. You know what you have? You can stand on the corner and you can say and have all the free speech you want. But you cannot assemble as a mob and go tear other people's stuff up. If that's you, you're in the wrong there. And that tearing somebody else's stuff up, to me, is the same as stealing. Right? So, freedom of speech and expression everywhere in the world. Freedom of every person to worship God in his own way everywhere in the world. Now, once again, let's think about this for a second. Freedom to worship God in his own way anywhere in the world. That still is a problem around the world. It's coming to be a problem in our country because everybody's got their own denomination now, and we're going to change this a little bit, and we want to believe this way. And all that freedom, you see, it's good in a lot of ways, but it lets the devil get in there and creates all these denominations, all these different ways of doing things. And that's why you've got to appeal to your supreme creator and ruler, which is God in heaven, and say, man, Lord, help me understand this. And I'd start in the book of Acts right there, where it tells you that the church started in one mind and one accord. And one mind means everybody was thinking the same thing, and one accord means everybody had the same game plan. And it was to tell as many people how to get to Jesus as they could, because time is going to be short. Now, there's where that's at. So, we want you to be free. The freedom of want, which is translated in world terms, means economic understandings, which will secure to every nation a healthy peacetime life for inhabitants everywhere in the world. See, there's a lot of people that don't want peace. They love to keep things stirred up, right? The news media only survives because of the sensationalism. Why are they having to lie, cheat, steal, and do all this crazy stuff nowadays? Because people don't watch it if it's not titillating, right? Or the perversions of the things that we see or the stories that we hear, they get the ratings. It plays right into the principality and the power of the air, which is the devil. So we've got freedom of speech. I think we're all for that. Everywhere in the world, I don't think we've been able to carry it to the whole world, but everybody still looks to the United States. Why don't we have more terrorism on U.S. soil? I believe what happens is a lot of times people come from foreign countries and they want to do something here, but they get over here and they just can't believe all the freedoms. Now, we still have inner city problems. We still have rural situations, drug abuse, abusing of children sexually, the human trafficking thing we could do a lot better job at. Lots of crazy stuff's going on out there. Then we have freedom from fear, which is translated into world terms, a worldwide reduction of armaments. Well, we know that didn't happen, right? But the freedom from fear is, it's hard to live every day of your life if you're living in fear, like a lot of places in these inner cities. And we look at places and we say, boy, man, they're killing everybody in Chicago and they need to do something about that. And nobody's doing something. Well, once again, due to all the freedoms we have in our country, it's against our law or our Constitution just to send our United States military in to a domestic situation. See? And that's why that's not happening, right? Now, when this movement started a couple of years ago, when these nut jobs started talking about getting rid of the police, it's the craziest thing you've ever heard, right? Because I'm not going to be free of fear if I get rid of the police. You got me? It does not make sense, right? There is no vision of a distant millennium. It is a definite basis for a kind of world attainable in our own time and generation, right? So a place free of fear, a place where freedom rings, right? A place where you can worship however you want to. And if you don't want to believe in my Jesus, just don't come on here, right? Or our Jesus, since we're a Sunday school class, right? If you don't believe like we believe, just go on down the highway on something. I've had a guy the last few weeks that's been making just these little funny faces on stuff. And I've thought, well, I'm going to approach this guy and say, hey, what's going on, But then I thought, you know what? Let God do what God does. God convicts the heart, right? God will do things and carry us and get us to where we need to be, okay? Now, let me give you a little something from a speech that George Bush gave right after September the 11th, 2011. It says, the course of this conflict is not known, yet its outcome is certain. Freedom and fear, justice and cruelty have always been at war. We know that God is not neutral between them. See, God is not saying, well, I'm going to put up with a certain amount of freedom and a certain amount of fear. See, we can't have, he's not for both of those things. So, fellow citizens, we will meet violence with patient justice, assured of the righteousness of our cause and the confidence of our victory to come. In all that lies before us, may God grant us wisdom, and may he watch over the United States of America. President George W. Bush. See, we can have a confidence in God, Psalm 91 tells us. And if I go to 2 Chronicles 7:14, Solomon and God are having a conversation. If you'll read there, you'll see a lot of conversations between God and people in that Old Testament, right? And God says to Solomon, if my people, which are called by my name, shall humble themselves and pray, and seek my face, I will hear from heaven, and I will heal the land. Now, don't believe me on that. I want you to turn over to 2 Chronicles 7:14 sometime when you get time. Because look, to heal our land, that's the United States of America. Land that I love. We just read that song lyric, right? Stand beside her and guide her through the night. See, it's a dark time in the United States of America. And a lot of people are using dark times to quit and to get in the shadows. But you need to go vote this morning. Who am I voting for? Man, I can't tell you. That's up to you. You vote how you feel like you need to vote. Right? But I know we need to educate ourselves. We need to pay attention to what's going on. And the internet and TV may not be the best place to get your information from your elected officials. But I would suggest one thing. On a football field, there's two huddles. There's one for the team that's on offense, and there's one for the team that's on defense. And everybody runs to one of those two huddles. And it's the same on our local level all the way to the federal level. Okay? And if you don't believe it, you're probably too naive. You shouldn't be voting anyway. All right? But the bottom line is you really need to take a hard look because it all matters. It matters locally, it matters on the national level or state level, and it matters on the national level, right? Is the devil still the principality and the power of the air? Is he still able to promise the kingdoms of the world to Jesus Christ? More than ever. But it doesn't excuse you and I from doing our duty and getting where we need to be, doing the right thing. All I can do is go pull this lever down for these people that I believe or that I think will do the right thing. Or maybe I'm going to go today and vote for the lesser of two evils. It's happening more and more, I notice, all the time, right? Well, I'm going to vote for somebody that'll do something for me. We've got to vote for somebody that's going to do the right thing for everybody. See? Not just the 50% that elected him. A lot to be thought about in this. Lots of politics. And a lot of people say, well, there's a separation of church and state. There sure is. Absolutely. There's a separation of church and state. A lot of people think it's separating something like drawing a line down the middle of a page, have something on this side and something on this side. This is my separation of church and state. Jesus is above the line, and everything else in my life is below the line. Am I a perfect Christian? Absolutely not. Follow me around. I'll make mistakes today. I'll say something stupid, trying to be cute, and somebody will take it wrong, and then I got to backpedal and apologize and tell them, man, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that because I'm still, crazy. I was a maniac, before I got saved. So, I'll say something, and when you're 55, all of a sudden it ain't as cool as it was, or it's not as cute, right? But anyway, not to digress. But voting is a great honor. It's a great privilege. We're coming up on Veterans Day. We need to thank these men and women that have paved a way for us to vote or not vote. That's a right too. Also, in all this voting and all these other things that we're doing out here, all these freedoms that we take for granted, all these things that were set up and guaranteed to us in this Declaration of Independence, if you don't love America, you need to go somewhere else. Because people died to have this and this freedom and all these wonderful things that are here. Is it a perfect country? No, nothing's perfect. But man, it's really holding together, and it's willing and it's capable of being held together because you got a whole lot of good stuff in this Declaration of Independence that checks and balances one group's power over another. And one group gets in and yanks it this way. Another group gets in and yanks it back. And I hope all that yanking keeps us somewhere near the middle of it all. See, we don't need one world power here, right? Let that happen when we're out of here and gone. But anyway, I'm going to have to let you go. I'm just going on. But listen, we live in a great country. America's God and Country, Our Noble Heritage, a book of quotes by William J. Federer. I'd take a look at that. And then Google, what is the national responsibility of a Christian? And you'll see, that we're supposed to follow the law, right? Thou shalt not steal. Thou shalt not kill. But at the same time, law and order is governed. And Grandma had a saying. And Grandma's saying was what? Tell the truth if it hangs your own daddy. Man, that's pretty strong truth, isn't it? But can you imagine if we all lived by that truth? Powerful. Go vote. Enjoy your day. Either way, the providential power of God will carry us through. And you win this thing and end up in a place called heaven with no more tears, no more sorrow, and no more pain. Every guarantee that's ever been made in that Bible will come true in heaven. I don't know how many campaign promises are going to come through today, but let's pray for all of our leaders. All of our leaders. God can reach them all. God can correct them all. God can raise a government up, and God can take a government down. Lord, we're thankful. We're thankful for your power, and we rely on it. We thank you for what you've done in this beautiful country, this United States of America. Chances are somebody's not going to invade us from the left without us seeing it. The Japanese tried, and we saw them coming there, didn't we? I mean, we didn't at Pearl Harbor, but we've made advancements. On the eastern side, the Atlantic side, it's a little tougher to get to us. From Canada down, it's a little bit tougher, especially if it's in the winter. Up through Mexico, man, the heat and the problems in the desert. So, Lord, you've insulated us from a lot of problems that places in the world face, and I don't know how much we ever praise you for that, but, Lord, we're thankful. Lord, we live in a country here in West Virginia. We've got enough water to do everything we want to do. We can take a bath every day, fill up a swimming pool if we want to. We can go out here in a white water if we want to. And even in our country, there's places where water is at a premium. But Lord, there's some places in the world that have no clean water. So Lord, again, as we think about all the problems of the world, man, we are blessed people to be able to sit here and listen to this morning. You've carried us. You've given us opportunities. Our kids are healthy for the most part. And, I don't know everybody's kids on here, but, a lot of you, I see your names pop up. Your kids are healthy. They're performing at these incredible levels. We're doing all this amazing stuff. The only thing I would caution everybody is don't forget about Jesus and praising Jesus and all this. Because, Lord, you've made this happen. There's no way the United States of America should have beaten Great Britain to win our independence. But you needed a beacon. You needed a light. You needed a light to the world. You needed a place for religious freedoms. And even though I may believe a certain way, you are allowed, those that are listening right now, you are allowed to believe any way you want. Please line it up with the Bible is all I would ask you to make sure. Lord, as we think about our veterans, and we always have our men and women in the military on the top of the list, we always ask for you to be with our veteran men and women who have already retired and have maybe given a limb. Maybe they've suffering from PTSD. Maybe who knows what their life has been affected by their willingness to go and serve and to protect us and being willing to lay down their life for us. So, Lord, bless those people in a mighty way. Our school kids need prayer. I talk about the kids at the top and they're performing at incredible levels. I talk about the kids at the bottom that there is no chance. These kids, It doesn't matter what you do. There is nothing, it's such a heartbreak. But there's a bunch of kids right here in the middle. Then they can go up or they can go down. So our school has got to adjust the discipline in school. We've got to focus on those that can be helped. We've got to find a safe way to deal with those that are beyond help. You can't have wild kids in school. I'm sorry. I know it's going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. Lord, again, be with our teachers. Our teachers are giving up because there's nothing you can do. I'm one of them. I was going every day trying to do part mission work and part teaching, and just, you feel better when you hang around young people. But I just can't do it. I just cannot, just can't. It's sad. It's just beyond what you can imagine as a parent if you haven't seen it. Lord, also our medical community, man, our doctors and our staffings and our nurses. I mean, these folks, now everybody wants to call in sick. Hey, I'm not feeling